And I'd like to present our first guest, Oleksandr Merezhko, member of the Ukrainian Parliament, head of the Committee of Foreign Policy and Interparliamentary Relations. So, Oleksandr, thank you very much for taking the time to have this conversation.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, my first question is, I will not be mistaken if I say that the demand for peace is enormous. This applies not only to Ukraine. How important is leadership and initiative in this matter?
Well, leadership plays a key role, especially during times of war. And as for peace, well, there is absolutely no doubt that we Ukrainians are a very peace-loving country, and we want peace desperately, but we want just peace. By peace, we mean true peace, based firmly on international law and the UN Charter in particular. But we don't mean by that appeasement of the aggressor. Peace and appeasement are different things. They're diametrically opposed. And we are firmly on the side of peace. We want to implement peace on the basis of the peace formula presented by President Zelensky.
And my next question is, only the lazy didn't offer Ukraine a peace plan. China, Indonesia, Brazil, and even African version. What do you think this connected with? Why?
Well, quite frankly, I don't believe in these so-called peace plans because, first of all, to me, they look too abstract. They lack concrete steps, and they don't answer the key question regarding our territorial integrity and regarding observance of international law. And for this reason, I don't believe in these plans. And to me, again, the only solution, the only concrete solution based on the UN Charter is only the peace plan put forward by our president.
What exactly is your main conclusion after the summit in Malta? There was wide discussion whether it was reason to do that or not.
I believe that the summit in Malta was a huge success because we have 66 countries and international organizations which had joined peace formula by the President Zelensky. And in itself, it's already a huge success. It shows, it illustrates very clearly that majority of the countries in the world are supporting Ukraine. And they want Ukraine to help to restore peace, including our sovereignty and our territorial integrity.
So, Razan, what do you think? When can we expect the summit at the level of heads of states? This is very important. And in general, how soon will it be? And where, maybe country, geography on the map, world map? And who will be the participants of the next summit, which I'd like to mention, summit at the level of heads of state? How far are we from this format?
It's hard to say anything about timing of this global summit of peace. It might take place in December this year, and we expected it to happen in December. Well, and actually, the Malta summit was the last step leading towards this global peace summit. So we can expect it either by the end of this year or in the beginning of the next year. And as for the venue, it's hard to say where it can be held. One of the venues, as it was offered, it might be New York City, the place where headquarters of the United Nations is located. Or it can be any other place. But I'm sure that this global peace summit will be even more successful than summit in Malta, and more countries will take place, will participate in the global peace summit.
And tell us more about how is the work in groups, because it's very essential to understand what is the main advantages of this summit.
To me, the formula which was put forward by President Zelensky is very flexible. It consists of 10 points, as we know, but any country can pick and choose. If, for example, a country prefers to focus on, say, nuclear security or food security, it can do it. So it gives lots of opportunities and options for each country in the world to choose what it prefers and to pursue a particular point or maybe all the points of the peace formula. And we'll see what will be the solution, will be the option of the countries.
And which countries do you think that participated in the summit, in your opinion, of course, are most interested in implementing the peace formula?
Well, I believe that all the countries in the world should be, objectively speaking, interested in implementation of this peace formula, because this peace formula is not only about Ukraine. It should be looked more broadly. This peace formula creates absolutely necessary guarantees of security for each country in the world. So I believe that each country, each member state of the UN should be interested. But of course, we are aware of the fact that we have our closest allies in France, for example, Baltic states, Poland, European countries, who express the biggest, maybe, enthusiasm about peace formula, and they are more interested. For example, those countries who had a tragic historical experience dealing with Russia, they realize how important it is for them to pursue this peace formula and to secure their guarantee. Because Russia creates menace, creates danger to all the countries in the world, but especially to the neighboring states.
Representatives of which countries did you eventually manage to involve in the discussion of the peace formula? Which countries refused to participate, and how do they justify it?
Well, if we take the quantity, the number of membership at the UN, we see that there are 193 nations, 193 member states of the UN. And so far, in this implementation of this peace formula have taken part 66 countries and international organizations. But we should remember that it's only beginning. To me, it's too early to judge and to say who have refused to participate. For instance, China, one of the biggest countries in the world, it has participated in the previous summit. And the chances are that it will join this global peace summit in the future. So the work of our diplomacy continues, including parliamentary diplomacy, and we're trying to persuade as many countries as possible to join the implementation of this peace formula. And I'm sure that it will have a very positive effect, that more countries will definitely join this peace formula.
And the next question is about, we all know that representatives of 66 countries attended this meeting. I'll remind you that we start with 15 participants. And what are the plans and, if you want, ambitions for the next meeting?
Well, ideally, it would be great to persuade majority of the UN member states. But I don't know how many more countries will join. To us, it's important that we have global representation, that in this process participate not only European countries or the United States, but also countries representing the global South. And we see that the number of global South countries is growing. And I'm sure that in the future we will have more such countries representing all the continents, all cultures, all major civilizations.
And my next question is that the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, Andriy Yermak, assures that despite the event in the Middle East, Ukraine remains the focus of world attention. Is it possible to shift this emphasis in the near future? And how do we prevent it? Because this is really very important. Everybody talk about we can be shift because of the events in the Middle East. It's a serious issue.
Well, there is such an issue. We should admit this because Russia will be trying to use any opportunity to any conflict in the world in order to divert attention away from its aggression against Ukraine. So Russia will be doing in this regard everything it can. But I can assure you that Ukrainian issue, the issue of Russian aggression against Ukraine, remains high on the world agenda. As an example, I can give you, I have just returned from the Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union, and which includes representatives of all the parliaments in the world, almost all the parliaments, and the issue of Ukraine remains to be on radar, so to speak, of the Interparliamentary Union. And the same holds true for Interparliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. This international organization continues to adopt resolutions in support of Ukraine. So the issue of Ukraine will remain in the global agenda while the war continues.
And maybe it will be my last question, but it's very important to understand the situation on the situation, the agenda, and everything which is about this summit. Okay, sorry. So representatives of Armenia, representatives from this country, Armenia, also flew to Valletta. The country did not participate in the two previous summits. What can the presence of Yerevan indicate?
Well, I think it's, politically speaking, it's a very important and serious sign, which means that even a country which was viewed before as an ally of Russia, it begins to understand that Russia is too toxic for this country, that with Russia, Armenia has no future. And it should change its, so to speak, political behavior. And the fact that Armenia is making steps in the direction of Ukraine is very encouraging. And it's a good example for other countries which still remain under Russian influence.
So, Oleksandr, thank you very much for taking the time for this conversation and for being with us. It will be very interesting to talk to you. Oleksandr Merezhko, member of the Ukrainian Parliament, head of the Committee of Foreign Policy and Interparliamentary Relations, was with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.